On today's episode, the Chiefs signed linebacker Justin Hilliard. Derek Carr has been benched in Vegas. Kelce says that our offensive coordinator does not call offensive plays. And we're going to talk about the playoff picture going forward. Stick around.
So the Kansas City Chiefs have signed a new linebacker, Justin Hilliard, to take the place of Elijah Lee that got poached sometime last week. Mike, any news on this thing? You think he's just going to be a practice squad player?
Yeah, I don't know if he'll get on the field. He's only appeared in 2 games with the New York Giants. He didn't even record a tackle. He was pretty mediocre in college. He played at Ohio State. He only had 84 tackles in his entire career, 9 tackles for a loss and 2 interceptions. So he was an undrafted free agent. The 49ers picked him up. He didn't make the team. The Giants eventually picked him up. He's 25 years old. He's a good character guy. That's all I pretty much know about him. Other than that, he's not had any production in the NFL.
Right, so just a practice squad body, nothing huge. Let's go ahead and move on to Derek Carr getting benched in Las Vegas, because this is hilarious. If the Chargers would have squandered that win to the Colts, it would have been a trifecta in the AFC West, because this week we've seen the Donkeys completely implode, fire their coach, losing their minds over there in Denver, and then we have the same thing going on in Las Vegas. Derek Carr finally gets benched after years of being the starter, but the Chargers had to squeak into the playoffs and ruin our trifecta. But either way, Mike, what do you think about that? I think they're going to start Jarrett Stidham instead.
Yeah, Jarrett Stidham, man. He was born in Corbin, Kentucky. That's right up the road from us. We just now found that out. He did go to Auburn. He was drafted by the Patriots in 2019. Yeah, he's just kind of a backup guy. He's played in 11 games. His 52% completion rating, somewhere around there, 342 yards and 2 touchdowns. So the fact that you're deciding to choose him over Derek Carr going forward, that means Baby Carr's last days in Vegas must be upon us. I don't think he's going to be back next year, and they're probably going to go a new direction with the head coach too.
Yeah, that's a big possibility. I mean, they did go out and get the best wide receiver in football, and then Baby Carr turns around and to date has the most interceptions in football. He's only got a 66.6 rating on PFF. So the devil is even after Derek Carr. I mean, it's just his time to stop. We won't have to see it no more. I'm sure he'll move on to a different team after this season, but I think they're done with him. And talking about Jarrett Stidham, he's nothing special. I mean, he's just another one of those Belichick backups that everyone overhyped. We've seen that ever since Tom Brady took over for Drew Bledsoe. Matt Castle was supposed to be the next big thing. Then you saw Brock Osweiler, and then Jarrett Stidham falls right in that category. Jimmy G, all those guys, they're just like run-of-the-mill quarterbacks. They're not terrible, but they're not great either. And that's just what he is to me. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about anything like that happening. No New England Patriot situations are going on in Las Vegas.
Yeah, he's definitely not the solution going forward. As I said before, I feel like they're going to push for Sean Payton. They may push for Tom Brady in the offseason. We don't know. But what I thought was funny is Jarrett Stidham. When you first said that, I got it confused with Jason Statham. And I thought there was going to be an action movie going on in Vegas. Probably more entertaining.
I'm going to take over at quarterback.
I'm going to take
for the Los Angeles Raiders.
So on the New Heights podcast, Steve, Travis Kelce was asked by Jason who calls the plays there in Kansas City. This has been a big debate throughout Chiefs Kingdom. Who's calling the plays? Is it Andy Reid? Is it Eric Bieniemy? And Kelce gives an answer that wasn't very definitive, in my opinion. He says basically, as far as he knows, Andy's the guy making the plays, but he didn't say it with any confidence. He kind of made a joke right afterwards. So it feels like to me that they're always protecting people, and Big Red's just always like, hey guys, put it on me. I'll take all the criticism. Let's keep everything in-house. So I don't know if I take this news with anything more than just with a grain of salt.
No, but props to Jason Kelce for actually asking that question, because we've talked about this all season and some of last year. Like, who's making these play calls? And what's the point of an offensive coordinator that doesn't call offensive plays? That makes no sense to me, but it would make sense that Eric Bieniemy cannot land a head coaching job for nothing, because he don't even do his job in Kansas City. He's getting carried by Big Red. So maybe that's the deal there.
Right. Let's do a little role playing. You be Eric Bieniemy and I'll be a potential NFL team. So, Eric, what did you do in Kansas City?
I stood on the sideline with a headset on and I yelled the F word really loud.
Did you not call a single play?
I wanted to, but Coach Reid always told me no, and then called whatever play he wanted to call.
So you didn't do anything except for stand there and look important.
I started fights with our best wide receiver last year in the AFC Championship game, and I started fights with our best quarterback ever that we have. I just like to argue.
Okay, great. We're going to hire Nathaniel Hackett. That's how that went. And you see how that worked out. So my God, guys, you can't have an offensive coordinator that don't call plays. This may be the reason Bieniemy's not getting looks. And we're all talking about race or whatever else under the sun, but it very well could be this. If Kelce is telling the truth and Andy is still calling all the plays with zero input, which I highly doubt. We've learned that Andy Heck has been calling plays in crucial situations. Then it feels like to me, Andy's just taking the heat. He wants everything
Yeah.
criticism to come back on him. He wants it off Bieniemy. He wants the locker room and everybody to just be close. I don't think that this is much news here.
No, I mean, obviously, I think that's what makes the Chiefs special. I think that it's not just the offensive coordinator calls every offensive play. The defensive coordinator always calls what package we're running. I think it's a big team effort on that sideline. I mean, the fact that Andy Heck, offensive line coach, can come in and be like, dude, run the ball up the middle right now. We're going to get this yardage. And then Andy goes with it. But, I mean, I think what Travis Kelce was getting at is ultimately it is Andy Reid's decision. And I think you're right, Mike. I think Andy's one of those guys that are just like that. Like, hey, no matter what happens, put it on me. It's my fault. I'm in charge of this thing. And that's admirable. So let's go ahead and get moved on to this playoff picture in the AFC, man. It's getting a little crazy because we just found out that Tua is going to be out possibly for the rest of the season because he suffered another concussion. And Tua has had some brutal concussions this year. It'd probably be best for him not to come back. So who do you think has the best chance of squeaking into the playoffs now? I know the Chargers just kind of got in with a not so great team and record, but now you're kind of looking at either Miami minus Tua, the Jets, or the Patriots. What do you think is going to go on?
I'm not a big fan. I don't think the Patriots are very good offensively. I don't think the Patriots are a good team.
Mac Jones ain't it, man.
Right. I do think Teddy Bridgewater could maybe come in and generate enough offense that Miami does slide into the playoffs. I don't think the Jets are very good either. Let's be honest. I will say that Miami, I think, sneaks in. We got a big playoff determining game this week coming up with the Bills versus the Bengals, man. I want both of them to lose. I don't know if that's possible, but I wish it would happen. But yeah, if the Bengals can squeeze out a big win here, the Chiefs might ride this number one, seed right into the playoffs because it's looking like we got a imploding Broncos team and a team in Vegas that just set their starting quarterback.
Right. So, like you said, if the Bengals win, the Chiefs are going to get the 1 seed. The playoffs are going to go through Arrowhead and AFC. That's ideal. And I think the Bengals right now are a better team than Buffalo, in my opinion. I feel like they're clicking a lot more than Buffalo is. But they did just have a scare with the Patriots and actually should have lost that game, except for I think Stevenson fumbled there in the red zone when they had the game in hand. So you never really know. It's just any given Sunday stuff. But I think the Bengals should beat the Bills, to be quite honest about it, but it's not going to go our way. I mean, we have to be realistic here. The Bengals are a thorn in our side. We can't beat them to save our lives, but they're not going to save us and give us the 1 seed. They're going to get beat. Playoff picture, it's still a little muddy, but I think the Chiefs have the team to beat anybody in here. They can even beat the Bengals, believe it or not. They just have to get out there and actually do their thing and not go out there and implode like every time they play them. So, I mean, what do you think, Mike? What do you think best case scenario is for the Chiefs? Get that 1 seed, or does it even matter to you? Just kind of ride it out and beat who you got to beat, where you got to beat them, and get to the Super Bowl.
I mean, the Chiefs offense does tend to play better on the road. We've seen that over the past few weeks. But then again, you want that number 1 seed. You want that Arrowhead advantage. You want the invitational to keep taking place in Kansas City. So this is going to be a big game between the Bills and the Bengals. I'm going to be watching the game not for the football content, not for the fact that somebody may lose and benefit the Chiefs, such as the Bills. I'm going to be watching it because I want to see these NFL officials and the NFL's heads exploding when they don't know who to baby more, Burrow or Josh Allen.
Right.
There may be 47 flags hit the field in the final 2 minutes with them just walking them down the field.
You may see the narrative that Roger Goodell is really hoping to run with in this game, because we've always wondered, who's the new White Knight quarterback? Is it Josh Allen or Joe Burrow? Which one are they, pushing more?
Who gets the calls at the critical times is who they're going to be pushing in the playoffs, people. Watch it.
Yeah, more than likely. So we've only touched on it a little bit, but there's just not a whole lot to talk about with it. But the Chiefs are playing the Broncos this Sunday. They're coming off a fire in their head coach. Russell Wilson had a 3 QBR last week. There was fights on the sidelines. The team hates each other. They hate their quarterback. They named an interim head coach. I can't even remember his name right now. Should this be just a complete and utter blowout for the Chiefs? I mean, I think it should be, but every time we think that, it becomes a dogfight. So, what do you think is going to go on with this game, Mike?
Right. Denver is a dumpster fire. That's all there is to it. They're in shambles. Their fan base hates their team. Their team hates their quarterback. Their quarterback probably wants to get out of the city, to be honest. He has more bedrooms in his house than he has passing touchdowns. This is a bad football team. They still said yesterday that they think Russell Wilson can be salvageable and that he's not as bad as he looked this year. I think that is just blowing smoke up the figurative butts of the Broncos fans just to tell them what they want to hear. But I think this team's a dumpster fire. I don't think they have anything to play for at this point. We've seen the defense completely just quit last week against the Rams. The Chiefs should blow them out again. As you said, every time we say this, it's like we put a curse on them. So I'm going to say the Chiefs win by like a point.
We all know that the Broncos have been a complete dumpster fire and Russ has looked absolute trash this year. But Russell Wilson was a good quarterback in Seattle. So, I mean, what do you think the deal is, man? I mean, he was okay. I mean, he was good. He was one of the top, he was in the top half of quarterbacks. Let's just put it that way. He even won a Super Bowl there. So, I mean, think about this for a second. Is the offensive scheme that Pete Carroll was using in Seattle that much different than what Nathaniel Hackett was trying to do over in Denver? And is the talent on the team around him that much different? Because in my opinion, I don't feel like it is. And I don't know what's going on. Is Russ really just that bad? Did he drop off that bad?
Russ is a system quarterback, I think. I think he fit what Pete Carroll wanted to do. They adjusted the offense around him. They were always drafting for top 5 defenses, not even top 10. These guys were in the top 5. The Legion of Boom caused chaos. You had Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor,
Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, they had Marshawn Lynch.
I think he rode Marshawn Lynch's back is pretty much what happened.
That's exactly what happened. He was protected by a run-first offense and a good defense. And the Broncos kind of had the defense, but their offense does not roll like that. Their offensive line is not good enough. When he tried to come in and sling it this year, I don't care who his wide receivers were. They're not better than Lockett and Metcalf. It wasn't happening. They even had Baldwin for the longest time there.
They tried to pump up Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton as being like this great wide receiver trio. They even tried to compare them to the Bengals at one point in the offseason, and it's just like so far off. That was just all hype.
Pete Carroll knew that Russ was declining. He knew that there's something wrong with his hand. He heard it last year. He knows that he's getting a tick slower. His decision-making's not as good. He's still a 4-foot-tall quarterback that can't see over his offensive line. So at the end of the day, Pete Carroll knew that he got way more out of Russ. And at the end of his career, he completely stole everything from the Broncos. I don't know who lost more money, the banks in Oklahoma, thanks to Chiefsaholic, or the Broncos front office for signing Russ.
Well, I highly doubt that he got over $100 million from the bank. So I'm going to go with the Broncos. But yeah, terrible move, terrible decision by the GM altogether. But I think it was just because the Broncos have been so bad in the last few years, and they're used to being a good, competitive, hard-nosed football team. They're not used to this losing, like crazy stuff that's going on. So I think they were really taking a shot with Russ. They thought that it was kind of a coin flip for them. I think they knew that this could happen, in my opinion.
Russ isn't it. He's just not it.
Yeah.
Are they going to bite the bullet and just take all that dead cap money? They may not do it next year, but they may do it the year after. I don't think Russ is a long-term solution. He's not. I don't even think he'll get him to the playoffs.
Can we just take a moment to really appreciate how big of a dumpster fire Denver Broncos and Las Vegas Raiders are? I mean, seriously. So all you heard about in the offseason was Russ coming in. He's going to cook in Denver and they're going to be great again. And then after that, it was, man, we got Devontae Adams in Las Vegas now. So Derek Carr is going to be cooking and he's going to tear teams up, and Devontae Adams is the best. They're already talking about the cap money that they could save by getting rid of Derek Carr and what hit they would take by going ahead and trading out Devontae Adams. So 1 year and they've already imploded. Same with the Denver Broncos. 1 year and it's already complete chaos, and it's just fantastic. I love every minute of it.
The Chiefs traded away our top offensive weapon that was supposed to end Mahomes' career. He now has a bunch of middle of the pack wide receivers. He still has Kelce, but Kelce's 33 years old. This guy has another Super Bowl run in him this year. We are one of the top 2-3 teams in the AFC easily. We are going to get an MVP trophy with Mahomes unless they just job everybody. And
we're getting Lombardi too.
Everybody else spends over $1 billion to take down this team that they said took a step back and wouldn't even make the playoffs. And yet here we are watching every one of these rich teams implode, and we're just sitting here laughing about it.
Dude, we got so much younger as a team, and we're still just so good. So, I mean, Brett Veach has done a really good job of setting us up for the future, and the other teams in the AFC West have done a good job of shooting themselves in the foot. So we're in a really good position going forward. But the playoffs are upon us here this year, man. The big time lights are getting ready to come on, and the Chiefs have got to turn it on and make this run, man, because I think this team, even though it's kind of a rebuild year and we have a lot of young guys, I think this team has what it takes to get that Lombardi, man. And I think that we could have two in the span of 4 years, and Kansas City and Chiefs Kingdom, worldwide can just love it and celebrate, man.
Yeah, I think it all hinges on our defense. If our defense can play like we did against Seattle and in those key third down situations, and then Andy and Eric, whoever's calling the plays, Travis, I don't know what you think, but it doesn't matter who's calling them. As long as they can get on the same page and do it correctly, I think we go deep and we probably raise the Lombardi this year. At least we should.
Yeah, so we already talked about how awesome it is that Denver's a dumpster fire and the Raiders are a dumpster fire. Derek Carr got benched. We talked about Nathaniel Hackett getting fired yesterday in Denver. So make sure to check this video out right here. Make sure to get in the comments, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, and we'll be back tomorrow with more on the Chiefs and Broncos. Peace. Aside from my soul.